So we're about ready to begin our panel discussion now, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Forex Expo 2021. I'd like to welcome now to the stage our four panelists. So we're going to be discussing why white labels don't sustain for long. First of all, please give a warm welcome to Juneid Khan, PFH Clearing. We've got Andreas Kapsos from Match Prime. Keep the applause going, please, everyone, for Andreas. Fantastic. Isavella Euripidon, I hope I pronounced that correctly, from GFSC. Welcome to all of you. I've got a set of questions here that we're just going to have as like a little discussion, so please feel free to take the mic,
Sure.
Use the mic whenever you feel like you want to join in with the conversation. First of all, the first question is, what is white label?
Hi guys, my name is Juneid. I represent PFH Clearing. The topic for today is why white labels don't sustain for long. And to talk about white label is a brand which takes the technology and the execution from a prime broker and runs its own brand with just having low capex and opex charges. That's what white label is. There is a difference between an IB and a white label. That's what the topic is all about today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amit. We at Praxis, we work with a lot of different types of companies and different types of brands, many of which are white labels. So I saw it fit to join even last minute to give a little input on what I see. So my aspect on it, or the way I look at it, is strictly from the payments side, and and I'm looking forward to discussing it with you guys, and whether it's negative or positive, I'll just say what I feel about it.
Hello everybody, my name is Isavella. I'm CEO and founder of GFSC Group, global group of companies. We are corporate and legal services group of companies. We provide licensing and regulation worldwide with experience of more than 20 years. I'm here today to actually assist and with understanding and actually give my experience on why the white labels should be regulated and should have been licensed. And I will do my best to give the experience through a few minutes that we will be here.
Thank you very much, guys. And secondly, how is white label different from IB?
Can we just talk about maybe if I may? So you said that white labels should be regulated.
Yes.
Which I agree, but so maybe that could be part of the discussion, is defining where a white label starts and where it ends.
Yeah, sure.
So, I mean, when you say white label, what's your definition of a white label?
From our side, like legal and corporate service providers, of course, we take the part, if somebody is starting, what is the white label? It's actually, it's one step before somebody creates their own, having everything under one roof, their own technology part, their own license, their own providing, actually, the financial services. So the startups, actually, from our side, we are assisting them to register a company, which is most of the times, of course, is the unregulated jurisdiction like St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But of course there are coming some, I could say problems, maybe it's not the correct word, but white actually is better to be regulated because it's, you are, first of all, of course, you are accepted because you are regulated, you have your own license. The second, of course, this with your license, you show to your clients that actually you are fully regulated and you are not a scam.
Okay. So from the regulation standpoint, mine and my company's stance on it is that it's 100% not sustainable if you don't have regulation. today, you know, we're integrated with literally hundreds of brands on one side and hundreds of PSPs on the other. And the ones who don't have regulation do not have processing. It's impossible for them to find processing. And if they do find it, it's not at sustainable rates, okay? And payouts or merchant settlements, you know, is a challenge for them. Meeting with your rolling reserve is a challenge. You end up working with people who aren't, so to speak, constructive to, you know, to running a sustainable business. So it's extremely difficult. And at the end of the day, if you're trying to build a real business and fit into the ecosystem and create a, you know, a good image for yourself and for the industry, then it's definitely the way to go is regulation.
I agree with you, but let me to just, let's say, to point out here that depends. That's why you have to start and you have to actually not just create a structure, not just to go for a licensing or just a registration of the company because you heard from your neighbor that this is a stylish or this is, I don't know, it's nice or wow, it's cool. No, of course you have to go to the legal representatives like us, and they exactly will tell you what is today will be the exactly solution for you. Because we understand how it works behind. So that's why we actually hear and we understand the client, what are the needs and what would be the need. This is actually what you mentioned, that you can create a huge, I don't know, companies. You can have 10 companies, but at the end they will not work. So that's why, of course, we are here to assist.
I agree with that. There are a lot of white labels which open every year, right? When we talk about white label getting introduced in the market, it's like a startup company. And as per Fortune magazine's analysis, there are 90% of startups fail, right? The first reason for a white label to fail its operation is not getting regulated because there are so many white labels in the market. Clients are looking for a trusted broker and the trust gets built when the regulation comes into the picture. Definitely payment is the first point for a white label because once you get the regulation done, you need to understand your market and understand how the deposit could come in and how the withdrawals can flow. So your company would come into the picture. But the topic for today is why there are so many white labels which opens and they fail on a yearly basis. The reason for that is lack of knowledge, lack of business understanding. Most probably a white label tries to become, an IB tries to become a white label and it fails because there's a vast difference between a white label and an IB. IB is a directly introducing broker who introduces clients to the brokers, and a white label tries to run its own brand without understanding the business model. So that's what
Definitely, we're integrated basically into every platform you can imagine, and we see their white labels going up and down, and the thing that creates their lack of sustainability is that lack of expertise in a wide array of topics. They might be good at marketing, they might be good at sales, but they don't understand regulation, they don't understand payments, they don't understand liquidity, or and they lose. From my aspect, they lose the ability of having payment solutions at arm's length and reachable, and being able to negotiate with them directly instead of relying on the payment solutions that are provided to you by your platform provider specifically. So that's one of the things that makes them not sustainable, and the industry is getting more and more competitive. The operators are evolving. So every competitive edge that you could have, you need to take. And by not being able to control your own, various providers that you want to work with, whether it's payments or liquidity or apps, you really need to have, control of who you work with and for how much. And I think that's the biggest, that's their biggest challenge on one hand. On the other hand, you ought to just tell it like it is. Like there's a big elephant in the room, and it's regulation, and fine. So they might find that solution, but then having sustainable bank accounts is a big problem too. So, white label, it's really based on how you define it. If you want to jump with both feet in the water and go for a swim, or if you want to just dip your toes in. If you're not gonna invest and you're not gonna get a proper infrastructure, then it's not gonna be sustainable.
True.
And carrying on from this, obviously there's lots of different factors that go into running a successful white label, but what would each of you say is the most important factor that makes it successful, if you had to say one thing?
If I talk about broking at this era, it's all about services, right? So everyone is providing the same products, whether it's PAM, MAM, social trading, or any other products which comes into the picture. So the most important is customer service. That's what gives them an edge to have to compete with the big brokers in the market.
I would like to add something that I would just wish that everybody understand that indeed there is a legal part that you should start with. You have to do your own search, indeed, but you have to actually, let's say, approach the professionals, either it's a corporate service provider, either it's law firm, either it's legal service providers. And there is a regulation for everybody. For startups, for established businesses, for somebody that, let's say, they want to upgrade or whatsoever, for white labels, for everybody. So just don't try to jump and avoid something, just hear and understand. Try to understand how it works.
Yeah, how about you, Amit?
It's not just one, I don't think it's just one thing that I could name, but I would, I would say that it's too dynamic. You need a competitive edge in your acquisition of traffic. You need good people in your call center. You need good people in sales. You need to invest in your retention mechanisms, and you need to have a native good experience for your traders, no matter what region they're from, but have it suitable for that region with regards to how they're used to depositing, and I agree with you 100% that reputation and damage control is critical. So do payouts, and do them timely and fast, and live to fight another day.
Agreed. Whether it's a liquidity provider, which we are, or a payment gateway, a CRM, or a regulator, it all depends on the white label sustainability. So there are a lot of recurring charges. There are a lot of factors which actually damages a white label, whether it's your risk management. Being an immature in the business, they try to handle the risk by themselves, and that's the core reason why most of the white labels fail. And I'm sure you guys also agree to it. And the second most important is the payment gateway as well. So if they are good in marketing, they should be really good in payment, because that's what actually helps them to get the deposit in.
So I guess it's all about the teamwork, Amit, like you were saying. Teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. But what about the costs, the extra recurring costs that a white label should be aware of? Because that's important as well, isn't it?
So along with the MetaQuote fees, which is on a monthly basis, there are a lot of other plugins which a broker needs to buy to be on the same level as the other brokers, whether it's your PAM, MAM, social trading, stop out level, and it goes on. So these are the charges which actually damages the new white labels, because it's a recurring charges, so their capex has to be supportive in terms of helping them to sustain for more than a year, and that's it.
You can build a beautiful website, and you can choose from a dozen different platforms who are all equally, great. And they have add-ons with with a lot of different providers for chats, for emails, for trader education, whatever else there is. But I think, you know, the biggest bummer would be not to have traffic, and I think that, you know, is the biggest hurdle that that could take, let's say, a hit on the balance sheets of some of these launching brokers. So it's really a shame if you're going to do it and you don't have the proper infrastructure in place, because I think the rest of the stuff is relatively cheaper.
And from my side, of course, I would like to add that exactly in this team, our part would be to find a tailor-made solution, which is either it's an offshore or in Europe, and of course, having successfully obtained the license. For offshore, it could be Mauritius, Seychelles, Vanuatu. Okay, it's not so. Let's say, actually prestigious, like the first two. It could be Labuan, it could be in another jurisdiction, or of course in Europe. That, of course, again, we taking care of, understanding the structure, the needs of the clients, guiding with the structure that actually should be fully complied by the regulation requirements, and of course, taking on us everything from A to Z until the license is obtained.
Thank you, guys. What about how does a regulation play for white label? How important is that, the role of regulation?
Yes, exactly. This is the very important part of, I'm just saying, let's say, from our part. As I said before, also that to be accepted as a client, as a regulated client, it's much more easier than as an unregulated client. I mean, unregulated does mean that with having a license, definitely I will agree that, of course, if you are regulated in Europe, it's completely different if you are regulated in, let's say, non-EU countries, because they are, ESMA, as a European regulator, they're giving, let's say, too much pressure on what, squeezing and squeezing, actually, I can say that Europe is over-regulated. But from other side, there are countries and jurisdictions that outside the Europe, and they are actually very well accepted, and they have good reputations behind. And of course, no matter what, of course, even if it's an offshore, we can actually build a smart structure behind. By understanding all the regulations and all the business and all the industry of financial world.
Anything, would you like to add anything, Amit or Juneid?
She's the expert
Yeah.
in regulation, so what she said is, I agree on that. As I earlier said, that regulation is the most important factor when it comes to white label, because in today's world, what your clients, what your traders are looking for is regulation, because that's actually that helps you to build trust in the market and gives you a different platform compared to any other broker which is unregulated. There are a lot of additional services which is not given to unregulated brokers, whether it's proper payment gateways or bank accounts, etc. It goes on. So yeah, regulation is the most important factor.
If you're a white label and you might be dependent on someone else's regulation, and you might be working under their umbrella. Otherwise, it's just not going to work out for you. So it's critical. All the payment processors that work with our clients demand, certain things in order to meet Visa and MasterCard regulations and rules, such as having a significant license, alongside a legal opinion in the specific jurisdiction that you want to work in. So there's no other way to run a sustainable business without having an industrial piece. So you can focus on the more heavy lifting, on the more important stuff, and try to stay competitive with all the other guys in the race.
This has been brilliant so far. I'm sure that you'll all agree with me. It's been really insightful, really interesting. But to finish off the discussion, what would be your top bit of advice for a successful white label business? What would you say to anybody wanting to maybe get started with it, or what would you say you need to do this to be at the top of the tree? I mean, we've already touched on quite a little bit of this already, but what would you say was the main thing? I know you're going to say there's not one main thing, because there's several things that go into it. What about you, Juneid?
Visit us on booth number 62. We are there to advise you, but being a clearing company, we not only provide liquidity, but we consult new white label brokers how to sustain their business, how to be more efficient, how to reduce their cost, and that's what our expertise are in. So do visit us on booth number 62 and we'll definitely help you out.
From my part, it's let's have a smart structure, regulation, and of course we are fully always ready to assist. Either it's a startup, either it's, again, I said, it's established business. And of course, regulation. It's, again, it's very important.
Yeah. And how about you, Amit?
So whenever a friend or colleague comes to me and tells me that they want to open up a Forex brand, I tell them to go open up an online casino. That's a joke. You guys are supposed to laugh. Okay. So yeah, that is a joke. And advice would be to two things. First, you can't have any broken links in the chain. So if you want to make money, you have to do it right, and you have to be all in. And whether it's the traffic sources and protecting the reputation of your brand from that point onwards, that's advice number one. And advice number two: if you don't have a competitive edge, if it's just money, and you don't have some sort of competitive advantage, like your own trading platform, where where you have a cost saving against your competitors, or your own good traffic sources, some sort of competitive edge. Otherwise, don't do it, in my opinion.
Well, this has been brilliant. This has been such a good panel discussion. I feel like we're sitting with like three inspirational speakers here. You've given some really great advice, some really great tips. Anything else you'd like to add? Anything at all?
Maybe if people have questions or they want to say something, which would be nice.
If anybody has any questions, I could take one of the microphones round to you. If you just raise your hand, if there are any questions at all. Okay, well, thank you very much, guys. I'm sure you'll agree that was absolutely fantastic. Round of applause, please, everybody. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you so much to Juneid Khan, Isavella Euripidon, and Amit Klachko. Round of applause, everyone, please.